Hi and welcome to the channel. This channel is about exploring music, exploring gear, and finding your own journey to do things. In this first series of videos, I expect to show you some concepts, maybe give you some keywords that you can look on the internet and learn. It's not about right or wrong, it's about the journey. My journey with the synthesis started when I decided myself to build a home studio. I bought one of those creative bundles containing a MIDI controller, an audio interface to connect my instruments, a microphone to sing, and the software that would allow me to record in the computer. And the door opened up for a whole new world of virtual instruments and plugins, and that's when I started to mess with synthesis on virtual instruments. But my DAW didn't have one effect that I really wanted, and this was my motivation to get myself a first synthesizer. And this little device taught me a few important lessons. One, synthesizers can be very expensive. This was more expensive than my studio equipment. Two was that a synthesizer can have a very specific scope and might not suit all the needs in your studio and into creating your music. Last but not least, well, a vocoder will not make you a good singer, but that's another story. Then I decided to get serious with synthesis and got myself a Moog synthesizer. Now with this baby, theoretically I would be able to create any sound I wanted, which is true, but this synth also had something to teach me, and in this case it was about polyphony. Not that I haven't done my homework before buying a Moog synthesizer, knowing that this was a monophonic synth, but what I didn't know at the time was what does this mean in terms of the equipment I already have and the music I want to make. And you can see where this is going, right? I had to get myself a polyphonic synth, of course, which also teach me a few important lessons, such as music has genre. No, but it teach me a little bit more about the different scopes that synthesizers might have. So let's try to discuss this a little bit in practice. If I would paraphrase Mark Duty, a synthesizer is an electronic instrument designed to allow the musician to alter or create timbre. And what does this mean? If I take this sample of playing flute and I filter out the airy sound of the tube and maybe mess around with how the sound starts and resonates, I can create new sounds. And this technique that I have just demonstrated is called substractive synthesis, for which the Moog grandmother is a very good example. In substractive synthesis, the starting point is a sound source, which is called the oscillator in the synthesizer. The oscillator might come in different flavors, which are called the waveforms, the way the sound vibrates. Let's have a listen to the different waveforms in the Moog grandmother. The other very important component on subtractive synthesis is the filter. So let's use the Hydra synth to explain how the filter works. Here I'm filtering a Sawtooth wave by changing the filter cutoff. And what this does in practice is that I'm lowering the volume of all high frequencies now, leaving me left alone with basically the root node. Another parameter on filters is resonance, also known as emphasis. And what this does, it raises the volume at the cutoff frequency, creating whole new harmonies. So now if we look at the oscilloscope and then we filter the Sawtooth, you can see how it morphs into this more like sine wave, leaving only the root node. And look at what happens when we apply emphasis. So the resonance creates the harmonic repetition in the wave. The reason why I showed you subtractive synthesis is because this is probably one of the most straightforward methods for synthesis, and it's also where most of the synthesizer architecture is built around. But I will show you more about that on upcoming videos. Please leave a like if you learned something with this video, subscribe to the channel so you can get more content like this. And I hope you learn a little bit from my journey, my mistakes, so you don't need to make the same ones. And I hope you can find your own cool way of making music.